Is exploiting an opponent's injury a clever strategy or crossing an ethical line? Let's explore 10 controversial cases that challenge our perceptions of fair play. What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Fulton Draper. Today we're exploring a topic that's sure to spark some debate. We all know MMA is a chess match of strengths and weaknesses, but how far is too far when it comes to targeting an opponent's vulnerabilities? We'll break down 10 eye-opening examples that will make you question where strategy ends and exploitation begins. So, strap in because this ride's about to get controversial. Number 1. Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz. Let's kick things off with the tactical genius of Henry Cejudo. When facing the elusive Dominic Cruz, Cejudo had a clear game plan: attack those surgically repaired knees. Cruz's injury history was no secret, and Cejudo wasted no time testing that stability. Nearly half of Cejudo's strikes targeted Cruz's legs, setting up the eventual knockout. It was a masterclass in exploiting a known weakness, but was it crossing an ethical line? Cejudo's approach showcased his fight IQ, but it also raised questions about the morality of targeting a specific injury. Cruz's knee problems were well documented, having undergone multiple surgeries throughout his career. Cejudo's relentless assault on that weakness ultimately led to a historic finish, the first time Cruz had ever been knocked out. This fight highlighted how a long-term vulnerability can become a career-defining weakness if exploited effectively. Number 2. Anthony Pettis versus Donald Cerrone. Cowboy Cerrone's wild lifestyle caught up with him in a big way when an ATV accident left him with severe abdominal injuries. Enter Anthony Pettis, who saw that massive scar as a bullseye. Pettis unleashed a barrage of devastating body kicks, quickly crumpling Cerrone. This became a blueprint for future opponents, with Rafael dos Anjos and Nate Diaz employing similar tactics. The targeting of Cerrone's midsection wasn't just a one-time occurrence. It became a recurring theme in his fights, with opponents openly admitting to focusing on his convicted weak body. This case highlights how a known injury can become a career-long vulnerability. Cerrone's toughness was never in question, but the repeated targeting of his midsection raised concerns about long-term health implications and whether there should be limits on exploiting such injuries. Number 3. Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Sometimes, weaknesses reveal themselves mid-fight. When TJ Dillashaw's shoulder popped out 30 seconds into his bout with Aljamain Sterling, the champion pounced. Sterling relentlessly targeted that injured arm, securing a dominant victory. What makes this case interesting is that Dillashaw later revealed he knew about the shoulder issue before the fight. This raises questions about fighter disclosure and whether Sterling's actions were simply capitalizing on an in-fight opportunity or exploiting a pre-existing condition. It also highlights the pressure fighters face to compete even when not at 100%, potentially putting themselves at greater risk of injury. Number 4. Darren Till versus Stephen Thompson. Wonderboy Thompson's recent knee surgery was public knowledge when he faced Darren Till. In a surprising twist, Till incorporated numerous side kicks to Thompson's legs, a technique he rarely used before. While Till claimed he was only trying to deaden the leg, it's hard to ignore the timing. This fight showcases the grey area in targeting injuries. Was Till simply employing a smart strategy, or was he intentionally trying to re-aggravate a recent surgery site? The debate becomes even more complex when considering the controversial nature of kicks designed to hyperextend the knee. Thompson himself expressed discomfort with the tactics, raising questions about the line between strategic fighting and potentially career-threatening moves. Number 5. Anthony Pettis versus Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's freak injury before UFC 223 was the stuff of legend. Amazingly, he returned to face Anthony Pettis just 6 months later. Pettis immediately tested that reconstructed knee with a barrage of leg kicks. While it seemed to work initially, Ferguson's inhuman toughness saw him power through for the win. This case is unique because despite the targeting of his injury, Ferguson emerged victorious. It raises the question, does the outcome of the fight change how we view the ethics of targeting a known weakness? Ferguson's ability to overcome the focused attack on his injury showcased his resilience but also highlighted the potential dangers of returning to competition too soon after a major injury. Number 6. Georges St-Pierre versus Michael Bisping. GSP's return against Michael Bisping showcased the importance of fight IQ. Knowing Bisping's right eye was severely compromised, St-Pierre relentlessly attacked from that side. Left hooks, high kicks, and even his takedowns all targeted Bisping's blind spot. This fight demonstrates how a long-term injury can be exploited at the highest level. Bisping's eye issues were well known, and GSP's game plan was clearly designed to take advantage of this weakness. It was undoubtedly effective, but does it lose some luster knowing Bisping was essentially fighting with one eye? This case also raises questions about the responsibilities of athletic commissions in protecting fighters with long-term injuries. Number 7. Amanda Nunes versus Raquel Pennington. Sometimes, an opponent's weakness isn't widely known. Raquel Pennington had suffered a severe leg injury in an ATV accident, forcing her to postpone a fight with Amanda Nunes. When they finally met, Nunes immediately blasted that lead leg. The damage was so severe that Pennington wanted to quit between rounds. This case brings up questions about fighter disclosure and whether camps should be made aware of recent injuries. Nunes' tactics were devastating, but she may not have known the full extent of Pennington's prior injury. It also highlights the ethical dilemma faced by corners when deciding whether to throw in the towel for a badly injured fighter. Number 8. Rashad Evans and Jon Jones versus Rampage Jackson. Here's where things get a bit conspiracy-like. Rampage Jackson accused the Jackson Wink camp of having spies after both Rashad Evans and Jon Jones targeted his injured knee in separate fights. While it could be a coincidence, the specificity of their attacks raised eyebrows. This situation highlights the importance of keeping injuries private and raises questions about information leaks within the MMA community. If a camp knows about an opponent's undisclosed injury, is it fair game to exploit it? It also touches on the broader issue of privacy and information security in professional sports. Number 9. Jared Cannonier versus Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva's comeback from a horrific leg break was inspiring, but Jared Cannonier showed no mercy. In Silva's homeland of Brazil, Cannonier repeatedly battered the surgically repaired leg. It was a decisive victory, but left many fans uncomfortable. This fight brings up the question of whether there should be an unwritten rule about targeting career-threatening injuries, even years later. Silva's leg break was a pivotal moment in MMA history, and seeing it targeted so aggressively years later was difficult for many viewers. It also raises questions about how long an injury should be considered off-limits in terms of targeted attacks. Number 10. Alistair Overeem versus Brock Lesnar. Our final example might be the most brutal. Brock Lesnar's battle with diverticulitis was well documented, requiring multiple surgeries. In his return fight, Alistair Overeem had one goal: test that midsection. A series of devastating body shots crumpled Lesnar, effectively ending his MMA career. This case is particularly interesting because Lesnar's condition was a matter of public record. Overeem's game plan was clearly designed to test whether Lesnar had fully recovered. It was undeniably effective, but raises questions about the ethics of targeting an opponent's health issues. Should there be limits on exploiting non-injury related health conditions? This fight also highlights the potential risks of returning to competition after serious health issues. The line between strategy and exploitation is blurry. While some view targeting weaknesses as fair game, others consider it unsportsmanlike. Commissions are implementing protective measures, but ultimately, it's a personal ethical decision. This complex issue forces us to reconsider our views on fighter conduct and sportsmanship in MMA. What do you think? Is all fair in love and war, or should there be unwritten rules about targeting injuries? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the darker side of fight strategy, smash that like button and subscribe Fulton Draper for more hard-hitting MMA content. Until next time, keep your guard up and your ethics in check.